Between late 2025 and early 2026, Elon Musk's net worth moved from $500 billion to $800 billion. It took only 4 months. To put that in perspective, he was accumulating wealth at a rate of roughly $100 million every hour. By May of 2026, his personal fortune reached $722 billion. That is more than double the net worth of Google co-founder Larry Page. This gap isn't the result of standard market growth or a lucky streak in the tech sector. When one person's wealth begins to exceed the annual economic output of entire nations, we have to look at the specific logic that allows him to outpace the rest of the global economy. This logic wasn't learned in a classroom. It was forced into place by a childhood defined by physical and emotional survival. In South Africa, Musk was bullied so severely that one encounter left him hospitalized for a week. He describes his youth as a period of psychological torture, largely due to a relationship with his father that he says made his life miserable. He left for Canada with $4,000 and worked on farms and in lumberyards. While building his first company, Zip2, he slept on a beanbag in the office and showered at the local YMCA because he couldn't afford an apartment. When Compaq bought Zip2 in 1999, Musk received $22 million. He was 28 years old. Rather than securing his future, he invested nearly the entire amount into SpaceX and Tesla, two ventures in industries that experts at the time considered impossible for a private individual to enter. He had developed a tolerance for risk and discomfort that most people never have to experience. When Musk first tried to buy a rocket, the price tag was $65 million. He decided the problem needed to be broken down into its basic materials. In physics, this is reasoning from first principles, ignoring how things are usually done and looking only at fundamental truths. He calculated the cost of aluminum, titanium, copper, and carbon fiber required. He discovered the raw materials accounted for only 2% of a typical rocket's price. By focusing on the cost of the atoms rather than the finished product, SpaceX began manufacturing its own parts. Within a few years, they had reduced the cost of a launch by nearly 10 times. But the math didn't guarantee immediate success. In 2008, SpaceX was on the verge of collapse after 3 consecutive rockets exploded during launch. By December, both SpaceX and Tesla were hours away from bankruptcy. Musk had to decide whether to split his remaining funds between the two companies, or let one die to save the other. He chose to go all in, sinking his final millions into Tesla on Christmas Eve. He treated those 3 explosions as engineering data, rather than reasons to quit. This refusal to accept a catastrophic outcome as a finality allowed him to survive 2008 and eventually build a trillion-dollar enterprise. To maintain this growth, Musk works 85 to 100 hours every week. This means he effectively completes 2 full years of labor for every 1 year worked by a person on a standard 40-hour schedule. He manages this volume by breaking his entire day into 5-minute blocks. This allows him to oversee multiple companies simultaneously without losing momentum between tasks. He justifies this pace by connecting his companies to what he calls species-level goals. SpaceX is designed to ensure human survival on other planets, while Tesla and Neuralink focus on solving climate change and the risks of artificial intelligence. This perspective changes his relationship with personal wealth. Musk takes a $0 salary and keeps almost his entire net worth tied to the performance of his companies. He stays largely illiquid, with his fortune existing as equity in the missions he claims will save civilization. By focusing on the survival of the species rather than his own financial security, he built a wealth generation engine that operates outside the boundaries of traditional business logic. This level of focus carries a significant personal cost. Biographers note that his ability to shut down fear often results in a suppression of empathy. This has led to multiple failed marriages and a reputation among employees for being one of the most demanding and difficult people to work for. There is also a structural risk to his fortune. Because 95% of his wealth is tied up in company stock, he remains vulnerable to market volatility. Furthermore, there is no public succession plan for his various companies. The mindset required to solve civilization-scale problems is rarely compatible with a balanced or quiet life. However, there are specific elements of this logic that can be applied to any career. Start by identifying the overpriced assumptions in your own life. Look at the raw costs of your goals instead of accepting the market rate. Reframe your professional setbacks as data. If a project fails, ask what specific information that failure provided that you didn't have before. Track your time with the same detail a lawyer uses for billing. When you see exactly where your hours go, you can begin to prioritize tasks that have the highest long-term impact. Link your personal goals to a mission larger than yourself. People who work for a cause beyond their own comfort often find they are capable of a higher output. Finally, increase your threshold for difficulty. By choosing harder tasks today, you expand your definition of what you can survive tomorrow. Elon Musk left South Africa with $4,000 and eventually became the world's first trillionaire. The money is a lagging indicator. The real change happened when he decided that physical and financial discomfort were simply variables he could choose to ignore.